night is the Rangers Journal night.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Thursday night's edition of the Rangers Journal, where we're going to have a Q&A with my fellow podders tonight. So tonight I'm joined by Colin. Colin, how's things?
Aye, good, thanks. Things are certainly heating up at Ibrox, and we're looking forward to a heat wave. The weather's falling soon, so yeah, all good. Looking forward to getting through some of the questions tonight with you guys.
Good stuff, good stuff. Stevie, how's things for yourself, man?
Evening, Jock. Evening, Colin. I'm very good, mate. Thanks. Looking forward to this.
Right, so tonight's Q&A. So, folk in the comments, fire questions in. I've got a small agenda, roughly based on all the rumours that we've had over the last couple of days, and all these wingers that we're being linked with. So we'll try and we'll go through as much as we can, but certainly get the questions in and let's get the conversation started. So first of all, Stephen, we've been linked with, as far as I can see, I've got a list here: Abu Kamara from Hull, Tierno Ballo from Wolfsberger, Grady, now I'm going to butcher some of these names, Diangana, who's a free agent, and then the one that's the most strongest linked is your guy, and I'm going to say this is Deji Gassama from Sheffield Wednesday. Have you had time to see any of these guys? I know I've watched Gassama, and looks like a real player.
Same, mate. He's the one that I've kind of focused on because the kind of chat about him for the Wednesday fans, they're so impressed. They're basically saying you're getting, a 10 million rated player for next to nothing. And it's obviously they're in a perilous situation, so we're kind of taking advantage of it, whereas normally it's the boots on the other foot. We're usually losing players for like a fee, which is pretty ridiculous. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts. But yeah, it's funny because we keep chatting about, like in the group chat, about, we need wingers like 3 days ago. And then there's like 10 wingers coming to Rangers like a day later. So I think they see where we need strengthening. But yeah, Gassama looks a tremendous player, 21, really good profile, like really energetic, quick, skillful. Seems to like taking a pop at goal. Pretty much everything I think you really need to succeed in Scotland. I think he's going to be one that he'll do well for a couple of years, and we'll sell him at a huge profit. Really exciting time. I think the other guys as well look pretty decent as well. I don't know if you mentioned the boy for Palace. That's went a bit quiet. But certainly Gassama looks, he looks the part, and he's trained already. So I think that'll get announced tomorrow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's going to be a busy couple of days. Colin, Sheffield Wednesday obviously are in a bit of a mess through no fault of their own. It seems to be the owners that's sort of really digging them into this sort of hole that they can't really seem to get out of. We kind of know that because we've been there. We've went through it. We've lived through it. We've survived it. We've come out the other side. Taking advantage of that, is that something we should be doing, do you think, to get a player or a talent like Gassama?
Yeah, Stevie said, I think he certainly looks like he could be a difference maker for us. I do like the way Russell Martin and Kevin Thirlwell, Patrick Stewart have gone about their business so far. They've certainly prioritised the defence, which was absolutely correct because we conceded far too many goals. We've said this on numerous occasions. Now that we've got a lot of that business done, they're obviously starting to look at the front line, and we've said it again on I don't know how many occasions. We're desperate for wingers. Yeah. Now this guy, Stevie's probably seen more of him than I have, to be honest. But the couple of times I did see him, he looked lightning quick. He looks pretty strong, good dribbler, and from the numbers, it looks like he knows where the back of the net is from distance as well as getting into the penalty box. So. To answer your question about taking advantage of Sheffield Wednesday, for Gassama, yes, I think there's been other links with some of their other players. I would be happy with Gassama. There's a couple of others, possibly not so much, but definitely need Gassama, and hopefully, as Stevie says, it'll get announced tomorrow, and then on to the next one. But it is a bit of a merry-go-round in terms of the number. I don't know about you guys. I can never remember in my lifetime being linked with so many players in such a short space of time. It could very well be the case, but every single day it's like 6-7 players. Now, how concrete the interest is, and which players you follow up on and look at YouTube compilations. I think it's the ones that that are confirmed links. Otherwise, you're just wasting your whole day.
I'm going to jump in the comments now because there's a good couple of questions there. Phil says, should we be looking at more first-team quality Scottish players to get in the door for the European quota, which is the homegrown quota, instead of trying to turn around these youngsters, essentially, which the talent that we're looking at down the championship, for as an example. Do you think that's the case, Stevie? Should we be prioritising homegrown Scottish players? I think, from what I've seen, I think guys like Finlay Curtis and Bailey Rice will probably get an opportunity under Russell Martin this season, because there's an intensity to them, and you can certainly see that from the training videos that we're seeing.
Did you see that one that was just released at 9 o'clock?
I haven't got a chance to watch it yet, no.
Right, well, just when you see that, because Finlay Curtis he's absolutely balling at somebody. Like, he's proper aggressive, and I was like, that's brilliant. Do you know what I mean? He's showing no fear at all, just in training, doing the drill. So I think you're spot on there with Curtis and Bailey Rice. Seem to be involved prominently. But the thing we need to remember about these guys, even though they're young, like Gassama is the example, he's 21, came through at PSG. This guy's got a real pedigree. He's clearly a very good player. And the fact that he's done it at the Championship's a far stronger league than the Scottish Premiership. So he's already at a level which I'm quite confident he's going to come into Scotland and hit the ground running. So no, I think they're identifying these players and they're going out and getting them. It's great to just, it's not like a big prolonged saga to try and get somebody on the line. It's like they're getting it done. And what Colin was saying there, I can reiterate, it's like every day's amazing. It's like you keep getting linked to these players and it's like you believe it's going to happen. Whereas before it was like, get linked with a player and they'll end up at like Norwich or wherever. Whereas now it's like, it's just quite an exciting time. And I think you mentioned Thelwell. These signings have got Thelwell written all over them. What he did at Everton, getting players pretty cheap and then selling them at a huge profit, is definitely his MO, shall we say. But no, I get the sentiment to want more Scottish players, but I don't know if the market's as good to get players for Scotland as like picking up these players for England. So we'll have to wait and see. I expect maybe one or two domestic signings, but I've not got an issue with the way they're doing it just now.
No, certainly not. They're going for a certain profile for each position, like the centre back positions. They went for strong, athletic, tall, powerful centre backs, so they don't get bullied, because that's something that we've seen even at Ibrox last season. St Mirren strikers were bullying our two centre backs. One guy had a field day. Colin, Frankie says there, if there's any Scottish player out there within the league, do you think they would walk to Ibrox to play here? But is that kind of player out there? I don't think there's a big pool of players that we maybe would have had previously, if that makes sense.
No, I think you're spot on, and just touching, before I answer that question, touching on what Stevie said there, it's all very well wanting to buy Scottish players, but they have to be good enough, and it's a really difficult market. It's not easy for Rangers to do business with Scottish teams. Like you said there, back in the day, I think Rangers and Celtic went after pretty much everybody that was young and Scottish. And that Hibs team, like Kevin Thompson, Whittaker, there was a few others that went to the other side of the city. So I don't see that happening now. So it's all very well wanting to buy Scottish players, and I'm sure they'll be looking at any options. I'm sure some watching will probably be saying, well, why aren't we after Max Johnson? Why don't we go and get Lennon Miller, for example? He'd probably be the one, but I'm not sure. The pathway for these Scottish players seems to be Serie A at the moment, just with the way Lewis Ferguson's taken it by storm. That was one we should have gone for. We all know that. But the other side of the city, they missed out on John McGinn. So there's been mistakes made by both Old Firm teams. I think it's very difficult at the moment. And like you said, it certainly looks like the players we're scouting and after the moment, it's very much from the Kevin Thirlwell playbook.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Stevie, I'll jump to another one here. Gordon says Penrice left for $2 million. If that's us, do you think you're right in saying that it would be $4 going on £5 million? I do think over the years, no matter what club we deal with in Scotland, there's definitely Rangers tax, shall we say, whenever Rangers come calling, there's an extra million or two chucked onto the price tag of a player.
100% agree with what Gordon said there. That's spot on. But the only thing I would say now, if there is a player that we want in Scotland, I think the pool of Rangers is more. It's obviously gone up a lot since the new ownerships came in.
Yeah.
So that's a big bonus. So players could push to get the move for us. Maybe before they looked at it and thought, I'm not that first. I can get a better move somewhere like abroad, like Serie A, like Colin was saying. But I think now, given the change of ownership, everything about Rangers is more attractive. So I think we can start attracting the better Scottish players, but I don't know if they are there just now, like Colin said.
Yeah, and they say the takeovers just only going to inflate prices because they've seen the numbers being banded about for what they've paid to get their feet onto the table, and then obviously what they wanted to invest in the club initially, and that was just the initial investment. That was playing squad as well as infrastructure behind the scenes and stuff. So they do know that there's money there, and obviously with all these players we're getting linked with, they're going to say, well, they're going to willing to pay money to these clubs down in England. Now, granted, now a lot of that stuff's going for undisclosed fees, but it is sums of money changing hands. It's not like we're getting these guys for nothing. One name that was linked, and I know this is going to be pretty divisive because he was divisive when he was here anyway, Colin, and that is Mr. Windass. What's your memories of Josh when he was here at his first stint?
Yeah, I think this one's probably going to split the viewers. It certainly split the group chat earlier on. Yeah, he's a maverick. He can do fantastic things. He can also be one of the most frustrating players to watch. Personally, I have him in the same mold as Cantwell. I think he's got a lot of talent, but I just don't think it would work at Rangers, and I think we need to move on and not move backwards. They've always said it about managers, never come back. I'm very much a believer of that as well with players. I've seen Joe Aribo linked. I think we will probably take him, but you kind of want to look forward and bring in better players. And I do think with the money that we've got just now and with the other players that we've been linked with, that we can get a better standard than Josh Windass. That's what I'm at the moment anyway.
Stevie, your 2 cents on Windass?
I'm kind of down the middle. I totally appreciate everything Colin said there because he's right. I can't disagree with that really.
Yeah.
But all I would say is that it was 7 years since he left, and I'd like to think he's matured as a person in that time, but certainly as a player, his numbers are excellent. Again, we're talking about the Championship, which is a good league, really competitive. You could argue it's the 5th best league in Europe. It's a very good league. 44 games, a lot of football. Last season he got 13 goals and 5 assists. The Rangers would seriously benefit for almost 20 goals coming from a midfielder in a season. Do you know what I mean? We've really lacked goals from midfield. I know Cameron's there now, which is great. I expect him to chip in this season. But if he's available at a knockdown fee, it would kind of make sense in a 1 or a 2 year deal just to see how he goes, just to add another option. But I get the sentiment, a lot of people in the comments saying disrespect the fans and this and that. I would maybe disagree slightly with Colin comparing him to Cantwell. I think he's got a much better output and he's a bit more arrogant in a good way, than I think Cantwell was. But I don't know. I just can't see that happening. But I'm not totally against it. What about you, Jock?
I'm just sort of the same. I think he's going to come back. He's a wee bit older, a wee bit more mature. He did have that arrogance and whiff about him when he was here, but he was younger, and that was his first big move, wasn't it, to a club our size? And he had his dad probably in his ear as well, winding him up and stuff, because his dad was sort of kind of like the John Fury thing, where his dad sort of in the side trying to sort of climb on top of him and get the media likes and attention and all because of that. But for me, I think he would come, and I think I'd say he'd have a point to prove, because he did interviews after he'd left, and he was so focused and he's so dead set that Rangers were going to win the league that year, that he was there that under Cassini when it all went belly up. But he said that he was convinced, and I think he'd have that sort of felt that fire, that fire in his belly to try and right that wrong, I guess, because he was flying that season, and he scored all types of different goals. And look what he's done down in the Championship, scoring goals for half yearly and stuff. Like, he has that ability, and I do think he has a wider range of ability than Cantwell does. But again, if he does come back in the door, he's already 1-0 down. bit like how we thought sort of Martin would be. You know, initially when he got appointed, you know, he's already got the fans on his back, and it's an uphill struggle. But I think he's got the character for that. You know what I mean? I think it's a strange one. It is a strange one. I was surprised when it came out, but again, we've been linked with John Lundstrom again as well. Granted, that's another Turkish account, but I don't know. Would you take Lundstrom back, Colin?
I'm going to be like the Grinch tonight. I'm saying no to all these guys who have been with us already over the last few years. Lundstrom was a good servant. By the end, his legs were gone. I think that's just the Turkish media stirring up clickbait. I think it's probably the same. Hadji's been linked with coming back. Again, for me, absolutely not. He had some good years, but in the end, you know, I think we just need to move on from these guys and look for a fresh start, and that's what we're getting so far. I mean, like you mentioned, the centre halves have come in. We've learned our lessons from the likes of Proper coming in last summer, who just wasn't physical enough for our league. Yeah. We've got a 6'5" and a 6'4" centre backs coming in, and you know that's what these guys are going to have to deal with every week. Physical strikers. So I think we're in really good shape, but no to going back to these guys for me.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Folks, keep putting your questions into the chat. Give us something to discuss here. Anything you've maybe seen online, some just your opinions. We'll go then to the goalkeeper situation. I know myself, and I think I can speak for every Rangers fan, whenever Russell Martin was appointed, that we're worried about how Kelly and Butland were going to cope with the ball at their feet and having to play it quickly and having to play it long and having to think. And I think it's good that we can see we're going for another player in that position. Doug's kindly gave us a slide here for the player that was linked, and that's Carl Rushworth, who's currently at Brighton. But I think these stats are for his loan spell at Swansea. So he's got an average rating of 6.9. He kept 10 clean sheets in 46 games. Goals prevented 4, goals conceded 65. But again, I think down in that league, you're expected to ship goals with the style of football they play. But obviously, you score more than what you concede. That's how this football philosophy is going to operate under Martin. I did a wee bit of digging on him when it first popped up, just to see. To be honest, I hadn't actually heard of the guy, but apparently he was touted for Barcelona when he was 18. So if Barcelona have an interest in you at a young age, you must have some sort of ability. Colin, you first. Have you seen anything about this guy, or was it you like myself? Just the link came today, and you just had to do a bit of digging.
Yeah, can't say I've seen him play at all. I saw the story about Barcelona sending scouts to see him. I know Doug's in the chat, maybe he can confirm. He was playing non-league for somebody, so it's quite amazing that Barcelona would send scouts across to England to watch a goalie playing non-league.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, if he was being scouted that young, then he's also got something about him. I mean, I think today has obviously been a momentous day in terms of it's clear now that we are looking for a goalkeeper, and that's massive news in itself because. Yeah. You know, for the large part of pre-season, we've been talking about whether it's going to be Butland or Kelly. We know that Russell Martin's philosophy requires a goalkeeper who can, you know, sit between the two centre halves and play out. It was interesting last Sunday against Club Brugge. Kelly tried it in the first half, was decent, I would say. Butland had a couple of hairy moments in the second half. I think he put Fernandes in a right mess. I think Fernandes recovered it. So it's not surprising that Russell Martin's won a proper goalie in terms of playing out from the back, because I don't think Butland and Kelly are up to it in terms of the standard he's looking for. So I don't know what Stevie thinks, but yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see this one happen pretty quickly, because Russell Martin will want a full week's training, at least a full week's training with the guys who are going to start the Panathinaikos game. So it'll be interesting. I think this one will happen pretty quickly.
Stevie, what's your thoughts on another goalkeeper coming in? Are you happy there's going to be a bit more competition, and especially somebody that has the ability to play out from the back, or at least can work in a system that'll suit that?
I'm sure Rangers have to like monitor in our group chat, because again, we've been mentioning goalkeeper for a few days. Like, we really want somebody who's going to improve. I don't like Kelly done pretty well end of last season. Butland was great to start off with and then fell off a cliff. I don't dislike either of them, but I don't see them as long-term options. So I think this guy looks really good. The fact he's at Brighton have got a distinct philosophy. You know, they only play one way, and any player they sign has got to fit into that model. So they've obviously looked at him and thought, you know, he can play it for the back. He's really good with his feet. Man United were actually linked with him end of last season. I never came to anything, but they were definitely looking at him. And I've looked at the footage, the highlights with Swansea. Really good shot stopper, quite commanding, excellent with his feet. Seems really brave. Crosses is decent. He's obviously still relatively young and a novice, but I think he's got everything that could be a future England goalkeeper. He ticks all the boxes, like size, strength. Like I say, the modern kind of goalkeeper. I think he looks really good. It's just like you mentioned, Panathinaikos. That's like such a huge game. Like there's so much jeopardy when there's one game at the start of the season. You don't know who's going to react to the pressure, but ultimately, if he's better than Butland, he's better than Kelly. You know, I think he's worth the gamble. And like I say, he's got a really good pedigree. So yeah, I think we all agree that, you know, we do need somebody better between the sticks.
Colin, interesting point here for Baz from Hands Across the Water. He says that if we're looking at a goalkeeper, we should get Mason Munn out on loan to get first team experience. I think I'm 100% behind that.
Great point. That has to happen, and I would expand upon that point. Great point by Baz. That see any of our guys, young guys who are not going to begin considerable game time. I think we should be looking for loan moves for them. We need to start making more use of that loan market. I'm sure the likes of Bailey Rice, I think, like Steve said, has got a chance. I don't know what Russell Martin thinks of him. He played really well the second half against Club Brugge last weekend. He looked a lot better in that sixth position than Conor Barron did. But obviously that's just an isolation in that game. But if Bailey Rice isn't going to get significant game time, and we've got quite a lot of centre midfielders, he's another one who should go out and loan and play 30, 35 games. Russell Martin's talked about Nsiala departing. I don't know if that's a loan or a permanent move. Again, if it's a loan, great. Get him some game time and see if he develops. We have to start doing that with young players. If we're not going to give them a pathway into the team immediately, get them out on loan, ideally to an SPL team, and see how they develop. If they're good enough, get them in the team. So great point. Absolutely.
It'd be interesting to see if the club go down the route for a loans manager. I know. I think it's Nicky Butt's doing that for Man United now. I think I've seen it. It must have been TalkSport. I think I was listening to, and they've been linked with that. It seems to be something that's coming into the modern, the background setup of football teams, football clubs. Is this person that can loan the guys out and sort of look after them, find them the right loan and get them game time, because at that young age, that's what these guys need. They need to be playing competitive first team games at a decent level, and I say it's something like you say, we've not really utilised guys like Bailey Rice and Finlay Curse. If they're not going to be in and around the first team squad this season, get them out and get them playing at a decent level and get 40 games under their belt. So when they come back, they've got that experience and they've got a bit more about them. Stevie, Paul's asked here if Rushworth, would you get Rushworth? Do you think Butland's away, or do you think Kelly? Do you think
no, 100%. I mean, I expect if this boy comes in, Butland will definitely leave. Kelly will remain as the backup, Scottish as well. I fully expect Butland to. Even the photos of the stills in the training, doesn't look happy, does he? I think he knows his time's about up. I expect him to move on. I'm sure his agent's talking to clubs in England. I think Burnley have been linked. That'd be a decent move for him. But 100%, Paul. I think Butland will move on in the next week or two.
I was looking at the comments here. I had seen one there. Where is that? I'm trying to find this one. Baz replied back, Colin said basically, I think he's agreeing that as long as Munn gets minutes, because that's what he needs. I think again, you're just reiterating the point that these younger guys in the team that they need to get these minutes at this stage.
Sorry,
go ahead, Stevie.
I'd really like Curtis and Bailey Rice to remain. I want them to stay at Ibrox because even on Sunday in the second half, Curtis, see the difference of having actual quality beside you. Like he's a younger player, such a boost. they're actually a lot more confident in themselves. And the fact that we're continually signing better quality players, that's only going to benefit them. It does make it more difficult to get in the team, but ultimately it drives their performance up. It makes them more competitive. Those two in particular, I really hope they stay. I don't want them to go, no, I want them to stay and get 20, 25 games a season in a successful Rangers team. That'll benefit them and it'll benefit us.
100%. Just on the Rushworth, from what I was seeing, I know this was only early doors this afternoon that it was reported. I don't think it's I think it's a loan move now. I don't think there's anything permanent, or it's like an option to buy at the end of it, which I think would be a bit disappointing if we get him in on a loan and then as the season in Butland goes and then he's away again, then we're back to sort of square one, unless there's something in the back line and something else could come out of this, or unless maybe they're looking at somebody else potentially for next year, and this is just somebody to come in and that can play the style, do a job, and then obviously raise his stake for Brighton, because we certainly did that for Sima when he came up from Brighton, and then obviously it didn't come back here and he went off to Brest. Again, we'll go back to the wingers then. So we're still looking at these wingers, and we're going to struggle, I think, to find somebody that's going to hit the same numbers that Czerny's hit. Do you think this? I think, Hamza, if we get through this Champions League and we get in the Champions League, I think there'll be a big signing, sort of marquee signing. What position do you think it will be? Do you think it will be up front, where if Dessers goes, Egeman goes, we're only sitting with Danilo? Do you think it'll be up front, or do you think one of them stays to keep Danilo and say Dessers, let Egeman go for the big money, and then do we put that money back into the wings position? Because I think we're going to need more than just the two strikers. I'll say that to you, Colin, first.
Yeah, if there's going to be a marquee signing, I'd want a winger. I'd want a difference maker in the wing position. Probably the right hand side, like you say, replacing Czerny. I think if we could get a permanent deal done for a left-footed right winger, that would be fantastic. Through the middle, obviously, like you said yourself, we've got Egeman, we've got Dessers, we've got Danilo. It's likely that one or two of Dessers or Egeman are going to go. I can't see Danilo leaving the way things are at the moment, and he's looked pretty sharp in these training videos. But if Gassama comes in, obviously we've got Cortez. As Stevie mentioned, Curtis is really knocking on the door now for more starts. I think we do need a bit of balance on the right hand side. So that Brazilian winger who's based in Israel, his name escapes me. I think it's Patati or something like that. Yeah, he's been linked with a move, but it's significant sums. I think you're talking 8 to 10 million. So if you classify that as a marquee signing, I think we'd be all over that. But see, to be honest, in terms of qualification for the next round, getting past Panathinaikos would be huge financially, absolutely. But I think we're going to do business anyway. And the likelihood is, as we're sitting here, all this talk about Egeman going to Lille, it's gone really quiet. Now, I don't know what you both think, but if Egeman stays and plays through the middle, we have to make him our number 9. In terms of he's a star through the middle. He's our biggest asset. We have to develop him. If he plays another season and has anything like what he had, over a period of 4 to 5 months for a full season this season, then his stocks can get even higher. So yeah, for me, if we're going to make a marquee sign, I would be definitely looking at a winger. Stevie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd probably echo what Colin said there regarding the winger. I think he's obviously straight away he's put a spine. The centre backs, the midfield, the guys he's signed are really quite impressive. Like you've said, physical, real athletes. So I think he's kind of identified that's what he needs, and he's now going after the kind of creativity where he's going to get his numbers for assists and goals. I think we mentioned Brooks for Bournemouth last week. He'd be a good signing. And yeah, if Egeman stays, then look for somebody creative. I mean, Czerny's numbers were amazing. I don't think he will come back, but again, it's no one I would rule out. He's still only 27, so he's still relatively young. Probably want to sell him on, that's the only thing. But yeah, it was 18 goals, he got assists. He was a tremendous player in a otherwise poor season. So he would definitely benefit with the added quality. So yeah, I'd like to see him coming back, but again, it might be a case of not looking back at Scotland, say looking to the future for somebody maybe a little bit younger. But what's Mark there saying, George?
Mark's basically saying that potentially 4 million for Tierney, but the chat, I think it was January time, I think they were looking 7. Was it between 7.5 and 9? I think was the chat, and then that was before he had the strong sort of remainder of the season that he had. So I don't know. I think I was reading the comments here. I think he's been linked with, I think it's Genoa or somebody's looking at him. So Govan or nice wee place in Italy. I know. I think I know where I'd rather go.
Tierney had a brilliant season last year. I'm not convinced that he will be the kind of winger Russell Martin's looking for. I think, as well as Tierney did, how many groans did we hear from fans last year about his tracking back and other things? He was absolutely brilliant. But I just think Russell Martin might want somebody who's going to be quicker and press harder. Maybe that's been slightly unfair because his goal and assist output was absolutely fantastic.
He got into it too. He bought into it. You could see it. He did have that slight wobble at the start of the season where I think bit of frustration, and then I think then after he realised the way the fans were getting on his back, I think he realised, right, okay, I know what I need to do, and then he did, and then say obviously as I think Nicky said there, Squishy, he knew what he was doing, and he rattled the right people and he pushed the right buttons, shall we say, at the right time. So he's definitely one of these guys that's definitely going to be a fan for life, I think. So we've talked about marquee signings, potentially big signings. Ibrox channel, Andrew's saying that Gassama's been picked as in the Rangers clobber. So for me, if he's in the gear, that's as good as done. Then we're just waiting on the scarf picture, which is good news. So I'd be interested to see if that's an undisclosed fee again, or if they will release it, considering all of the issues that Sheffield Wednesday are facing at the moment. I'd be interested to see if they release that. With Sky, maybe release that fee. In terms of Egeman, then, as Colin, you said there, I think if he has the season, half the season that he had, switching between left wing, right wing, and up front this season, he could do some serious damage in this league, especially this brand of football. I think he'd thrive under this brand of football. I really do. I think he's got that sort of variety of goals in him. He's the goals he scored at Hibs, header, outside the box, inside the box. The goal he scored against Aberdeen, that half volley where it sat up for him. He's got such a repertoire of goals in him. I just think one more season. If he can hold on for one more season with him, I think he'll have a cracking season and he'll be a 20 goal plus striker, easy. Colin, do you think so?
You can probably tell by my enthusiasm for him. I'm a huge fan of him. If Egeman stays this season, I guarantee you he'll be leaving for a Scottish record fee next summer. 100%, because he's got absolutely everything. Is he a bit raw? Yes. Does he try too many nutmegs and half wheeling? Yes. But he's just so creative. He can create goals. He can score goals. I mean, I was really frustrated personally. He had that spell where I can't remember, it was like 8 goals in 8 games or something. And as soon as Dessers was back from a wee niggle, I think after 2 or 3 games, Dessers put back through the middle and Egeman was played out left. And he went really off the boil in for 5-6 weeks. We have to make him the number 9. We have to make him the centre of this attack. And if you put wingers either side of him, he could be lethal. He scores big goals as well. Like you said, Jock, he scored a lot of goals in Europe, and he scored the winner at Parkhead. He can do it all. So yeah, I'm really hoping that's what happens. But if Lille come in with the big money, they've got plenty of money. I think somebody in the chat was just saying that they've got another 10 million euros in the bank from a deal with Leeds. I don't know which player moved there, but they've got plenty of money. So, pay up.
That's it. That's it. I think it's just one of those ones they're always going to lowball, aren't they? And then if they really want the player, they'll pay. They'll pay I know there's rumours of a release clause. I think it's 15 million. I think they offered 13, 12 or 13. They've come in a couple of million too short, so they're obviously just testing the waters. But if they want the guy, and they've been tracking the guy, they've come out and said that they've been following him. He definitely fits their profile. I think, to be fair, I think he fits profile of many clubs around Europe. I just hope we get another season out of him. Stevie, I'll go to the chat here. Mark says Miovski. He's one that's been linked. Now, I don't know if this is. I think this could be a lazy daily record link. For what I've seen. But personally, for me, I know I would take him because again, he's another one that he gave us a lot of baller, and he gave them a lot of baller as well when he was here. And again, he's another one that he's got different types of goals in his locker. Something I think we should be, we should try and take it back, even if it's a loan with an option to buy, just to give him a season here, just to see how he does.
Yeah, excuse me, that's a good shout. I think especially if Igaman does leave, which same as you, I don't want him to go because he's such a talent and he seems like a proper character as well. I heard Billy Dodds get interviewed last week on Radio Scotland, and he was like, "He lets on that he doesn't speak English, but he does. He just didn't know how to talk to him." So he's obviously got a bit about him. But yeah, Miovski's a cracking striker, knows the league. He's done well here, as you've said. He scored big goals already against us, against them. And I think if Igaman does go, then we probably could afford him. Might actually just boost his wages a wee bit. But yeah, loan to buy would be a smart move for him as well, because we see how he gets on. So yeah, that one definitely makes sense, because he could come in and hit the ground running. And I think he would definitely get 20 plus goals in the Rangers team amount of chances we're going to create. So yeah, that's a smart suggestion, definitely.
Seen in the chat there, apparently Miovski said he wouldn't come back to Scotland if he's going to play for Aberdeen, but I don't know. I think if Rangers come knocking, I think he don't even care. If he wants to win trophies, he would want to come here, surely. Paul has made a good point, and this is something that I noticed with the sort of players that we're being linked with, and the couple that have actually, the couple have come in, that we need to be careful about the AFCON in December and January. Now, I've always had this theory that's whenever Arsenal in the Premier League fell to pot any season, they were sitting top of the league just before Christmas. Half the squad disappeared to the AFCON, and then they fell apart at Christmas time, and then that was it. It was always the way it went for them. This is probably something we've not really had to face, Colin, as a team, really. I think the first player that really sort of springs to mind would be Joe Aribo that season, where he was absolutely flying. And I think it was the season he played the most minutes out of any professional footballer. He went to that. He was flying before he went to the AFCON, and he came back, and he just wasn't quite the same as he was before he went. Do you think this is something we'll need to be careful of this season?
Yeah, first of all, it's a fantastic point, because I'm sure the club are aware of it. But you are talking now, I think there's 4 or 5 guys in the squad already who would potentially be heading off to AFCON. There's Paul, I think in Gia as well, is he? I think as well. So yeah, it's definitely something to be aware of, because as we know, certainly under Gerrard, how many times did we start really well, hit December, January, and then the wheels came off? So it's really important that, well, first of all, that we're in the title race come January, but that we start the second half of the season really strongly. So you want as many players as available as possible. It's such an obvious thing to say. But at the same time, when we're looking at our scouting and recruitment, you're trying to get the best players in that you possibly can. So it kind of goes back to the chat we were having about, trying to buy Scottish players. At the end of the day, we have to bring in the best quality player that we can in every single position, regardless. Now, the other side of that is, I've heard a lot of people moaning about, we're doing loans instead of buying players. Totally get it. But at the same time, it's that very same point again. We have to get the best players in every position. And Gia is only here for a season, right? Yeah. But if he has a fantastic season at second half and starts 38 games in the league, then we'll be over the moon. He could win us. Help us win the league. Help win us the league. So, loan deals are what they are. They always say don't fall in love with a a lone player. We fell in love with Czerny last year. There's been a couple others. Sema, I think Sema's been mentioned in the chat a lot tonight. I can't see Sema coming back either. Probably too expensive. But yeah, it's a good point by Paul, and it'll be interesting to see how many are heading away in January. It's definitely something to be aware of.
Stevie, I suppose then the beauty of the January transfer window is you can try and sort of recoup one or two or cover one or two, but then it's the whole point of having a squad as well. And you've got squad depth there as well. So even though you're losing, potentially 3 there, maybe 4 if you include Dessers if he's still here. That's what we've got a window for, isn't it, to try and recoup that? And it depends. I suppose it depends what kind of position we're in as well. If we're sitting okay in Europe, and depends where we are sitting in the league as well. For fingers crossed, obviously we're not chasing.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this is it. These guys are, they mean business. They're signing these players to win the league. That's their aim. They want to win the league. They want to be in the Champions League. So ultimately, if we've got players who are representing their countries at an international tournament, it shows their quality's gone up again. And as you said, the January window's open, and it's exciting just now because we're getting these players because we really need a big influx of players. We done a pod a few weeks ago, and somebody asked how many players ideally would you like, and I said a baker's dozen, and I was serious. I wanted about 13 players, and the way we're going, I don't think we're going to be far off that once this window actually closes. A few will go out, but I said at the time, we're still going to sign players in January as well. This isn't like a one window only. This is a slow build, or it's a quick build to start off with. But if they identify players throughout the course of the season, it's going to strengthen us in January to hopefully push, get over the line. I'm not saying we're definitely going to win the league, but that's got to be the aim. You want to be competitive. You want to be right there come April, May, have an actual title challenge. So yeah, even if we lose 3 or 4 to the AFCON, I'm sure they'll have something in place. These guys plan miles in front, miles ahead. So yeah, I'm confident it'll be fine.
Questions come in from Kev on Tillman. I think Tillman's going to Leverkusen for 35-40 million. So I think we're due 10% of that, is it? I think something like that. So I think we're talking around the £3 million mark, I think, Kev, for that, which isn't bad for somebody that turned up, did okay, decided he didn't want to come. Bayern Munich shifted the goalpost and repaid us kindly for it with a bit of money, and then made sure we got a wee bit extra money because he went the route that we all thought he was going to go, which was just upwards. And then you can see that now with his move to Leverkusen. And another point here I had, Mark, or sorry, Colin, I'll come to you. Mark's asking here, do you think Raskin will go if Rangers don't get through the Champions League? Or my hope is he signs a 1-year extension, stays for the year, and then goes, because the stock at the moment's never been higher.
Yeah, it kind of has to be one or the other, Jock, doesn't it? It's a good question. I think Raskin has to extend his deal, whether it's a year, 2 years, ideally 3, or we have to cash in. We've done this far too often. Kent, Morelos over the years, we can't let players run down their contracts. I don't think Raskin will. That'll be my inclination. I'm seeing his comment, his question in the chat. He's asking, with his place in the Belgian team at next year's World Cup being, could it be in jeopardy if we don't get through in the Champions League? I don't think so. No. I think the statement he's made, the impact that he's made, to even get into that starting lineup for the 2-3 games ahead of the likes of Tielemans and others, Onana, these are massive players who have gone for 30-35 million. So yeah, I don't think Raskin will leave this summer, actually. And there has been reports that he's been offered that new deal. It would be a great boost for everybody if he would sign that new deal heading into the new season.
I think so. And I think, as Baz says, either he signs or he doesn't. And if he doesn't himself, exactly. He may have already indicated that he might want to go, but he's getting international games while he's at Rangers, and that's, shows you that he can continue to thrive in the international scene while playing for Rangers, certainly for this year anyway, because he's going to be have a good stage of Champions League games, more European games, no matter what level it is. It's just for me, it's just, I personally just think it's just a shame it's taken maybe a year longer than it should have done for him to get to that level, because that's what we were sort of expecting from him, because that's how it was put to us. This is where this guy's going to go, but it's just taken him maybe a year in his contract longer to do it.
Can I come back in there?
Go ahead, Stevie.
Just on Raskin, something else Billy Dodds said in that interview. He said, we were so impressed with him, but we said to him, if you're cutting your legs off, you're just not doing enough further up the pitch.
Aye.
And since that point, he's proper progressed. He's came on so much. And I think as well, from a selfish point of view for him, leaving Rangers now and going to a different club is a huge risk in the World Cup here. He's loved at Rangers. Everybody rates him. He knows he's going to play. He's going to have that consistency all season, so he's going to keep playing for Belgium if he stays where he is. Whereas if he gambles and leaves, might go to a bigger league, but who knows what's going to happen? He might not settle. The manager might get moved on, and then where is he? So I think sensible thing for everybody. He signs the extension, goes to World Cup next year, does great, and be selling for about 35 million. So that's everybody's happy with that.
The rumour mill was out in force on Sunday, Jock, when Barron was named the captain and Raskin wasn't captain. I personally wouldn't read too much into that at all. But on Stevie's point there as well, we've signed Asgard from Luton because he wants to move to us to get himself in the shop window for Norway's World Cup team next year. Now I know it's a different scenario. I know he would have been in League One. But it shows you, Rangers are a big enough platform for any player to earn his place in any World Cup squad. That's the way I look at it anyway.
No, 100%. I totally agree. I seen Jordan Henderson's name being put about the chat there. Mark's asked again, do you think he'd be a good free agent? I think his wages might be a big part or a big stumbling block for us. I don't think it's wages we would want to be paying. Now, I think if Steven Gerrard had got the job, I could have seen Henderson come with Gerrard as being like a number two, start off as a player and then phase into that coaching role. Potentially, I would have seen that then, but I think I think Sunderland is boyhood club, isn't it? I think he'll go there for a swan song season and then probably drop into the backroom team there. But it'd be serious money he'd be looking. But then again, potentially Vardy could be looking such money because let's say his name's still been linked with us, and Connor Cody as well is a name that's still been mentioned. There's been nothing concrete there on that going either way, really. So in terms of Henderson, as much as I think he'd be great at Rangers, I do think he's just one of those guys. I think he'd have that sort of Stephen Davis aura, ilk about him. He'd be good on the pitch. He'd calm games down. He'd be that sort of player you bring on whenever you just need to slow things down and just get a bit of calmness. I don't see it happening. I do think he'll go off to Swansea. He'll finish off in the Premier League, I think.
We've got plenty of midfielders anyway now, Jock. I think I can't see. I think the majority of the money now will be spent goalie and the front line. We're talking there about Bailey Rice getting his chance. If another midfielder like Henderson came in, kind of puts him down the pecking order a wee bit more. We've got Diomande, Rothwell, Asgard, Raskin. We've got great options in there. Can't see it.
Folks, give us a couple more questions because we're kind of going to come up to the hour here shortly. So a couple more questions in, get us over the line there. That'd be great. Just while everybody's watching, I just want to give a shout out to our pod sponsor, which is Off to the Match I Go. You can see it along the bottom there. If you head to the website and put in the code Journal10 and the checkout, you'll get 10% off any of your purchases there. There's some good stuff on that site. So there is. Again, looking at the chat here, they're looking at, I know Vardy's not in their wage bracket. I don't know. I think Vardy, we did a pod on Vardy there earlier in the week, and the guy seemed pretty keen that he'd be keen to join us because we'd offer him something different and a chance to win trophies. Didn't think the wages would be an issue as well. I think it's one of these ones he's probably going to wait till the last minute to see what sort of offers come in, isn't he? He's not going to just jump the first one that comes in, that being us. But I've seen he's doing the PR with the Instagram with the drills and stuff, and he's out and hot with the top off, looking looking nice and lean, ready for the start of the season. Paul's made a good point. This is something I've been saying in the chat and the journal chat about the training videos. Different intensity. There's just something. It's totally different to what you were seeing under Ferguson and Blythe Dodds, where they were just jumping top each other's back and all that kind of carry on. And I was just like, this is. You can see they're trying to integrate playing with the ball at their feet quickly, turning, getting out into space quickly, moving the ball quickly from the goalkeeper out the back. There's a press there as well. You can see it's just everything just looks a bit sharper, looks on the money, and I'm actually really enjoying these extended videos. I don't know what you guys think, Colin.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. I haven't seen tonight's, but it's another 50-minute one, so looking forward to probably checking it out after this podcast. The intensity has been incredible, and the point Stevie made earlier on about the likes of Finlay Curtis and Bailey Rice staying around the squad and obviously playing with these guys in games. I'd add to that and just say he's absolutely right. But in training as well, they'll learn so much of playing with these guys in training. Certainly with how fast-paced it's looking. He's fairly putting them through it. I think we're going to be fitter than we have been for a long time. And it's really shaping up. I'm trying my very best not to get too excited, but it's very difficult not to get quite, be positive about it, because it's really shaping up in all aspects. Like Stevie mentioned earlier on about, we were hoping that we would get, 9-10 players in by the end of the window. And it took a while to get going. But once we hit the start of July, I don't know what you guys think, but we're probably ahead of schedule. Whisper it quietly. So yeah, it's great to see all these guys, the new arrivals, stuck into training. And, if these guys gel and if they take to Russell Martin's philosophy, then hopefully we can hit the ground running.
What do you think of the videos, Stevie?
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're so high intensity, quick. Just it's like one touch ping, it's away, or one touch move and it's away. Absolutely no hesitation. Just getting that kind of rhythm, building that muscle memory. It's really great to see. Just to kind of touch back on the two names you mentioned there, Henderson, but particularly Vardy. Make myself unpopular here, but I follow a bit of the rugby, like British Lions, like an analogy, and there's a lot of kind of furore about Owen Farrell getting called up. But any other rugby player you hear talking about him, they say he's such a little bastard, but a real way. He's got such high standards, and he drives everybody to be the best. I think Vardy, if he used to come to Rangers, he wouldn't accept anything less than his standards. To be still playing at his age and his condition, that's the character I want in Ibrox dressing room. And I think he would fit into that style that Martin's trying to basically bring about. But yeah, the videos are class. Like I said, that the aggression for Finlay Curtis and the one earlier, I was like, wow, he's got no fear, and that's what you need to be in the Rangers first team. So yeah, really promising.
He'd had the ball in Red Bull, so he would. They'll be buzzing off Red Bull, and then that might work well for us next year if Red Bull come calling for a shirt sponsor and there's pictures of Jamie Vardy tinning six pack of Red Bull.
Brilliant.
Again, looking at the chat here, Lennon Miller again is another one that keeps getting banded about. But I think if we were going from Lennon Miller, I think it would probably have been done sooner, and I think they would have wanted him in the start of the season. Because I know that Motherwell changed managers there again, didn't they, recently? So, I think the rumour was that they were going to look £9 million or something for him, and he's only got a year left in his contract, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Or 2 years. So you're never going to get £9 million from a Scottish team for Scottish. That that break all kind of records. That's Torandre Flo money you're getting close to there. Again, we've probably chatted about this, but would you take Lennon Miller at all, both of these?
I'll go first. It's a difficult one, because if you had offered him to be at the start of the window, I'd have probably said yes. But heading back to the point I had about 5 minutes ago, with the number of midfielders we have in just now, and would he start? No, I don't think so. I think the quality of player we've taken in alongside Bailey Rice. I mean, put it this way: if Bailey Rice was playing every week for us, I think we'd have him at the same level as Lennon Miller. That's how highly rated Bailey Rice has been coming through the youth ranks. He came through the youth ranks at the same time as Lennon Miller. The difference has been that Lennon Miller has played for Motherwell. He's played a lot of senior games. So I think I would be saying no now, especially at that price bracket, Chuck.
Stevie?
Absolutely, same answer as Colin. Bailey Rice is what I want to see for a young Scottish player at Rangers. He's got everything. He's got the talent, he's got the physicality. I'm not saying Lennon Miller's not an excellent player, but for £9 million, it doesn't make any sense to us. I think if we were to sign him, it'd be such a kick in the teeth for Bailey. And I don't want that to happen. I want him to play and be successful and develop as a Rangers player.
Personally, I think Miller's probably better going off and doing the route with McTominay. Go to Italy. I don't think a player like that will come to Rangers and thrive the way he would do if he went to a foreign league. I think that he's probably better off for his career to do that, because he'll get. I know he's only just started coming into the Scotland squad now, but I think he'd be best going somewhere else, because he'll develop better. He'll get a better experience than he would playing in our league. I think he does have the attributes to go one further than where he's at the moment, and I think that's bigger than Rangers. I do think he does have that ability, but I don't think if he'd get to us, then he would hit that ceiling. But again, that's just my opinion on that.
Hopefully he's gone before the first game of the season.
Well, aye, that's true. That's true. My worry about that is the pitch. I'm hoping their pitch is in decent order, because if we want to play our style of football and we're playing on a crap surface, I think we might struggle. But again, that's for a couple of weeks' time. We have a bigger fish to fry before that. I'll wrap up then. Colin, cheers for joining us. Thanks for your input tonight, man.
No, thanks very much, and thanks to everybody in the chat. There's been some really good points made and good questions there. So make sure you like and subscribe. All the guys behind the scenes, Scotty and all these guys, put a lot of work into maintain this channel and getting it running. So please, thanks for your support, guys. And
Stevie, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Jock. Thanks for having me. Thanks to everybody for contributing. It's a really exciting time. You're saying there about Colin about trying to keep your excitement like a lid on it. I'm the same. Like when these links and stuff, I'm straight away to my daughter. I'm like, oh, this guy's saying. She's like, what's he like? Is he good? I'm like, he's great. And it's just like, right, just let's calm down. But it's really good time just now. Promising. I'm the same. I'm shocking for Twitter. I'm hitting refresh every flipping couple of minutes, or I'm scrolling down my phone to refresh it just to see what's coming next, because there's that many player names getting thrown at us this last couple of days. Thanks everybody in the chat for the comments. Thanks for helping the conversation flow tonight. Enjoyed it as always, and just remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night. Cheers, guys.